Last month we held a giveaway for the Travis Scott Jumpman Jacks, and the lucky winner just picked them up. If you missed it, wipe them tears because we got a brand new one. This time it's gonna be a little bit different. We're giving you the choice between two fire options. You can either choose the J Balvin Rio 3s or the Bread Force and Industrial Blue 4s, all in your size if you win. To enter, it's super simple. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel and drop a comment on which option you would pick. This giveaway is gonna run through the entire month of June. Good luck, everyone. I've worked on a lot of 1985 Bread ones, but this specific pair is super special.
1985 Air Jordans. My husband's basketball team all wore them the first year they came out. Manufactured TY1. These are crunchy. Soles aren't too bad. They're very dusty. They've been in the closet. Very worn, as you can tell. They've seen a lot of court time. We'd like to have these cleaned up for him for Father's Day. Thank you.
It's gonna be a surprise gift for Father's Day from Mr. Rychecki. I wanna do right by him and his family and get these shoes looking right. These shoes need a lot of work, but I wanna go about this restoration properly. So, let's get started. To get things started on both shoes, I'm gonna pull out the insoles and remove all the stitching from the midsole. The reason being, right here in the front on both shoes, the stitching is completely ripped. I'm gonna take it out and replace it with some brand new thread later on in this video. All stitching is fully out. During that process, I took my time. These outsoles are very fragile. If I yank too hard on the stitching, there's a good chance I could crack it, and there's no going back from that. So you can see on both tongues, one of them has a tongue tag, the other one is completely off, it didn't come with it. I'm gonna remove this one, replace both shoes with some new 85 tongue tag replacements so they can both match nicely. Looking at these 85s, I can just tell that these shoes have never been cleaned, or it's just been several years since they've been cleaned. I can tell because the black leather is really ashy. Same thing with the red on the tongues as well. The leather is really stiff. Once you give it a good deep clean using Rejuvenator products and the natural oils of our solution, it's gonna soften up and it's gonna brighten up the materials. That's the thing with these 85s. They built them like tanks. They use good quality leather. So when you just give it a good deep clean, it makes a world of a difference. Before I start the deep cleaning on these 85 breads, there's a lot of different types of restorations I can do on this specific shoe. On the channel, I've done a lot of different ones. For example, I've taken them apart fully where I replaced the soles, added new padding on the shoe. The soles on the shoe is still flexible. However, we wanna keep the shoe as original as possible. The owner is not gonna wear these. They wanna gift them to Mr. Rychecki and display them for a long time. So we wanna make these as presentable as possible while keeping some of the original patina of the sneaker. First things first, let's use the compressor to blow off all the surface dust from these shoes. Air compressor did its job. As you can see, there was a lot of debris and dust on the insoles and inside the sneakers. We got rid of that. The cleaning should be pretty easy. For this cleaning, I am going to be using Rejuvenator's Essential Shoe Cleaning Kit. I'm going to use all 3 brushes solution. The only difference is I am going to be using our extra large shoe trees that we do offer on the website. I want to be able to apply more pressure on the toe box and this back ankle area to help reshape the sneaker. Also, during this cleaning, I'm not going to be cleaning up the insides. The insides have deteriorated foam. Once I start combining water solution with that old stuff, it creates a nasty smell. Plus the insides aren't really dirty, they're just old. Same thing with the insoles, there's foam that's deteriorating. Once I put water on there, it's gonna create a mess. So we're gonna leave those as is. The key here is oversaturating the leather so it can absorb some of those natural oils from the Rejuvenator solution to help soften up the leather, help recondition it, and just to make it look better. First things first, let's squirt 2 squirts of our solution inside our bowl of water. Next, we're gonna put the shoe trees inside the shoe. Like I mentioned, we wanna be able to apply pressure on the toe box and the back ankle area. However, I don't wanna apply too much pressure. The soles are very fragile. Once you apply too much pressure, it can crack and there's no going back from that. Before I start cleaning with the brushes and solution, I got a pick. There is some gum on the sole. Let's pick it off. deep clean is complete. I let them dry for about 30 minutes outside in the sun. They dried right away. Off the rip, the shoe looks so much better. It feels better. The leather is a lot more flexible. It's soft all around. And on the black, there's a nice sheen to it. The shoe trees also helped eliminate some of the creasing. It reshaped the toe boxes, same thing with the back area. I took out the shoe trees, so that's the original shape, but we're not quite done yet. The next step though is to put them in the Vick 2000. I'm not gonna put any Store Revive. I'm just gonna let the UV rays from the Vick 2000 eliminate some of the yellowing on the midsoles. I don't want it back to brand new white. I just want a nice creamy vintage tone. As is, they're a little bit too yellow. Let's put them in the Vick 2000. Good to go with the Vick 2000. After a few hours of being inside, we removed some of the yellowing from the sole. A lot of it's still there. That's okay. I just wanted to eliminate that harsh yellow. Now we gotta place the stitching back onto the sole. I got some white thread. As is, it's way too white. So I got my cup of coffee. I'm gonna cut a couple pieces, put it inside the coffee, let it sit for a while so it can stain the thread. After that, I'll dry it and then apply it onto the shoes using a sewing awl. One last sip. After 5 minutes, I got the thread out of the coffee. The tone is perfect, it matches the midsole perfectly. Now let's sew it up using 2 pieces of thread. The cream will go on the outside, the regular white will go on the inside. Stitching is complete, not too bad. Now we're on to the tongues. I do got some perfect red and black Nike tongue tag replacements. We're gonna sew them onto the tongues. First, I'm gonna use some double-sided tape to place them correctly onto the tongues. Then with the post bed, we'll lock it in. New tongue tags are in place, they look great, let's keep it moving. The toe boxes do look a lot better from when we started, but there's still a lot of creasing going on. The iron method should take care of that. First, I'm gonna grab some towels, stuff the toe boxes in a strategic way. I don't wanna apply too much pressure where it's gonna crack the sole. Now that the toe boxes are stuffed, I'm gonna use a wet rag, place it over the toe box, then with the iron, simply iron out the creases. For this, you wanna be very careful. You don't wanna burn a hole into your shoe. To get the best results, you wanna give it a good 2 to 3 passes. Check out this toe box. I basically removed all the creasing. I'm gonna let the toe box sit for a while longer so it can continue to dry and keep that permanent shape. While we wait, I'm gonna use a steamer on the tongues. There is a lot of creasing going on. I don't think it's fully gonna come out, but it's worth a shot. The steamer did give the tongue some structure, however, all the creasing is still there. It was worth a shot. Next, using some small scissors and sharp, we're gonna clean up all the threads around the sneaker. The shoe is really old. There's threads on the swoosh, threads hanging from the toe box. All of that stuff needs to be cleaned up and makes a big difference on a restoration or cleaning. Details are all cleaned up, we're getting there. Now we are gonna give this shoe a slight paint job. When it comes to 85s, you gotta be very careful when painting the uppers. Most of the time, you don't wanna touch them. It looks better as is. For example, the shoe has a lot of scuffs on the red. I'm gonna leave that as is. It looks good with the rest of the shoe. The shoe is heavily worn. It wouldn't make sense to give the shoe a brand new paint job when there's creasing, the sole is almost falling apart. It would just look weird. But the black on the toe caps is heavily worn down. That I can touch up. So I'm gonna be using some Angela's flat black paint and I'm gonna touch it up using a small angular brush. That looks a million times better. I just went in with a little bit of black paint, touched it up, not 100% full. I left some of the scuffing there. Some of the areas where I applied too much black paint, I went back with some 800 grit sandpaper, sanded it down. Now it looks natural with the rest of the black leather that hasn't been painted. Now this next step is extremely important. The leather on these sneakers is almost 40 years old. I wanna make sure they hold up another 40 years, so we wanna recondition them. For this, I'm gonna be using some Reconditioning mink oil. I'm gonna spray a thick coat all around the leather, let it sit overnight so the leather can absorb the mink oil. Whatever mink oil doesn't get absorbed into the leather, I'll use a horsehair brush to brush it in. After that, we'll lace it up. leather completely absorbed the mink oil. There's no shiny spots on there, just a nice sheen to it. Overall, the leather's looking nice and healthy. The only areas that are really shiny is the vinyl material on the swooshes and the collar areas. Real quick, I'm gonna use a horsehair brush to brush it away. After that, I'm gonna lace them up. These shoes originally did not come with any shoelaces. Luckily, I got a bunch of Foxtrot uniform laces. These are perfect for the 85 sneakers. It has a perfect thickness, perfect weave pattern. Also, the shoelace isn't completely black like the rest of the sneakers. If you look at the sock liner, it's completely faded all around. That's just a common thing with 85 sneakers, depending on how they're stored. Sometimes they just change different colors. So these shoelaces should match the shoes perfectly. Alright guys, that's gonna bring us to an end on this full restoration of these 1985 Bred ones. These are display ready. I did everything possible to not decrease the value of these shoes during the restoration, but that doesn't even matter. These shoes hold a lot of priceless memories for Mr. Rychecki, and I couldn't be more proud to do this project for him. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Rychecki, and the rest of you dads out there watching, and a special shout out to Mrs. Rychecki for making this project possible. This is Vic Almighty. I'll catch you guys next Saturday. See you guys.